Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dr. Sue and You. I'm so happy you could join me again today. This is where you come to develop the tools that you need to become the solution to any conflict within your life. And I have another great guest with me today. And we're going to talk about bringing successful change to your life in many different areas today. Joining me is Denise McCormick. She is an award-winning educator, #1 best-selling international author of 2 books, one which is Women Who Shine by Kate Butler, and Women Who Impact. She also is a coach who helps women move through and become very successful within their lives. And she loves mentoring people to do that. Hi, Denise, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Sue, and thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really, really happy to be here.
It's my pleasure to have you on today. You and I have talked several times before, and everything that comes out of your mouth is very interesting and helps a lot of people. Tell us how you became interested in doing this coaching, writing these books, and helping people obtain success in their lives.
Well, it really happened kind of accidentally that I segued into this. I was 57 years old, and I thought that everything that I would ever need to be successful was already present in my life. I had been a state awarded teacher, and I had a master's degree and a K-12 reading specialist, and I was teaching elementary and college, and I was leading in-services and creating my own graduate courses, and everything was great. And then my tree on top of the mountain top collapsed when the day that a principal walked into my room and said, "You're going to teach to a pacing guide. You'll teach this on this day." And this was the 4th principal we've had in 5 years. Our district was going through a challenging time. And that was a compromise I just wasn't willing to do. And I went home and told my husband that I don't know how this is going to happen, but I want to be the change I want to see in education. So I jumped on an entrepreneurial journey.
So you did not want to follow how other people were instructing you to do your job. It didn't feel good to you inside. You know, I think that happens a lot with people that work for other people in business or education. And there's like this fire inside of you, and you feel that you want to do more or do things differently, and it's just not meeting what the goals are of the facility that you're working for. So good for you. And where did that lead you to?
Well, I started on an entrepreneurial journey with just my own business. I started as an Arbonne International consultant in health and wellness because I wanted to be the change. I felt educators didn't have, and I talk about educators, I have a broad term for educators. I have any woman that educates in any way, shape, or form is my educator, okay? It doesn't matter what business you're in. And I just felt that personal development and self-care were absent in almost every area. I don't care where women worked. And so I thought, I got a master's degree in education. I'm going to get a master's degree in personal growth. So I started on this journey. Well, that January, after I left teaching, my mother died suddenly, and my nephew died 10 days later, taking his life. She had been helping my troubled nephew. And I was in a point where it was the dark night of my soul, because I was left to deal with all the ramifications of a very unhealthy family. And so go ahead. Did you have a question?
I was going to say, isn't it often when we go through tragedies or adversities that we choose to make a change in our life at that point? And, you know, it's like two paths, right? We can take this path to destruction, or we can take this path to empowerment.
Right. And I'll tell you why I am always open to change. And I had a very traumatic accident happen to me at 13. So I was really fortunate, even though this was a terrible accident that happened. I was golfing with a group of friends and we were out, and a friend lived at the golf course. She wasn't with us that day, and we all walked over to speak to her. And one of the girls teed off, and she didn't come over and talk, and it hit the girl I was standing right beside in the head. Ooh. The next day, we left for vacation, and we were gone that whole next week. She died that afternoon when she went in to take a nap.
Oh, my goodness.
And so at 13 years old, I was left to process, what are you going to do with your life now? There was no one that talked to me. There was no one talking. There were no counselors then. There was nobody.
Right.
And so I spent the afternoon with my quote book and my prayer book. And I said to God, I'm going to try and honor Kathy's life by making positive choices. Because I lived in a family that didn't. But that experience made me say, I'm going to grow. I'm not going to groan.
I like that. I'm not going to groan. I'm going to grow. I like what you said there. That's very good. And you're right. You know, that was what I was saying too. You can either grow from these traumatic experiences or not. But we have to water ourselves to grow. So I want to talk to you today about some of the methods that you use in your own coaching and how you educate people to become successful really out of tragedy. And one thing that you do focus on a lot, which I believe in as well, is growth mindset. So let's talk a little bit about what a growth mindset is. I'm not sure everybody knows what that is. It's not always self-explanatory, so please enlighten us on that.
Okay, so a growth mindset is, how do you, when something happens to you, how do you respond? Okay. All right. Do you see it as a threat, something you can't manage? Or do you see it, do you stop and say, I've gone through hard things before. This is just another one of them. I'm going to look at this as a challenge, not a threat. That's a growth mindset.
Okay. And can you set that kind of mindset with anything that is going on inside of your mind? Meaning, what stops us from getting caught up in ruminating or perseverating or feeling stuck in such a mindset? Is there something that we can do to break that?
Yes, there is. One of the things that I teach is about thoughts. And we have thousands of them every day. In fact, my children's book is going to be teaching children about this, because this is something that I feel we need from childhood on into adulthood to learn.
I do too.
And there's actually some tools that you can use, and I'm going to teach you one today that you can interrupt this thought in 1 second.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, what do you do on your computer when you don't want something? What button do you press?
Delete.
Yes. That's what you do to the thought.
Yeah.
The thought comes to you, you say, thank you for sharing, delete. Delete. You can delete as many thoughts. We're in control of our thoughts. That's what people don't understand.
That is correct. And do you suggest saying delete? I know you and I talked about this before. You say delete as many times as you have to interrupt the thought, right? And then it starts dissipating over time.
And another tool you can use, Dr. Sue, once you do that, is talk to yourself. Use distant self-talk. This is in a book I love. This is the book. It's called Chatter.
Okay.
It's by a world-renowned psychologist, Ethan Kross.
Right.
And he teaches you how to interrupt some tools. I'm going to share some of those with you today.
Okay, good.
How to interrupt that voice.
How do you do that?
To use what's called distant self-talk.
Say it again.
Distant self-talk.
Distant self-talk. Okay.
Yes. when I can't get rid of that thought, I've said delete a few times. Then I start talking to myself. I say, Denise. Okay?
Yep.
I'm distancing myself. It's like someone else is talking to me.
Yes, yes.
You need to go out and take a walk right now. You're going down the rabbit hole. And so that's one thing you can do. It just takes a second to do it.
People that hear that, because I've heard that before, I also tell people to do that as well. They think, oh, it's crazy. You're telling me to talk to myself. And I was like, no, it's not crazy. It's going to help you dissipate whatever is circling over and over in your mind, because you have to interrupt the path. Now, right. Denise, what happens when we do get stuck on something? Are we paying attention to that thought and saying that's who we are?
That's the thing. What we have to realize is we are not our thoughts.
Right.
Our thoughts come from the five senses.
Okay.
We take in. Dr. Sue, can you guess how many thoughts we have every day?
Let me guess off the top of my head. Let me guess.
Anybody have a guess?
75,000 thoughts.
Okay, it varies from 12,000 to 60,000.
I was way over. See, my head is just clicking and clicking all the time.
But we have a lot of thoughts. Okay, so of those thoughts, what percentage do you guess are negative?
I would say maybe 75%.
You're close, 80.
Okay.
And how many of those, what percentage of those thoughts were the same thoughts we had yesterday?
Oh. Very high, I would say.
Very high, 90.
I was going to say, so it's if you hold them from one day to the next, it gets worse and worse and worse, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. That's how people get into depression. Okay. Yeah, that's what leads to depression.
Okay, but you've just given us a gift today in saying that you can interrupt your thought process. You can interrupt these thoughts. These are just thoughts.
That's all they are.
Okay, and you have the choice whether to condone these thoughts or not condone them. Okay.
Exactly. And I don't think most people know that, Dr. Sue.
I don't either.
I don't think they know.
They don't.
Whoever told me that, I mean, I had to go and find this out after dire things had happened to me. I started researching, okay, how am I going to, first I got to put my oxygen mask on and help myself before I can go and help other educators.
Absolutely,
So
I think,
I went to Jack Canfield's Breakthrough to Success and learned how to use the success principles in my own life. I thought, I can't help other people until I'm actually doing it myself.
I agree with you. Yep.
Another tool you can use when you have thoughts coming, imagine you're advising a friend. We're a lot tougher on ourselves than we are other people.
Yes.
Would you talk to your friend like you talk to yourself sometimes?
No. No way.
But then imagine you're advising a friend in the same situation.
And do that to yourself.
Out of it.
And do it to yourself. All right, Denise, these are great tips. We already have to go to our first commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some other principles that can help you become successful. Planting seeds and overcoming adversity, which are two things that everybody deals with in this world. We are talking with Denise McCormick. She is a #1 best-selling author. She is a #1 award educator and also a success coach. And we will be back after these commercials.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dr. Sue and You. We are talking with Denise McCormick today. She's a #1 best-selling author. She is an educator and a success coach. And we are talking about ways to help you become successful within your mind and within your everyday life. And that's what we all need as we go through every single day. Now, I'm going to bring her back into the show. She already gave us excellent tips on growing our mindset and dealing with perseverating thoughts. And now we're going to talk about 2 other essential components to becoming a successful human being. Denise, let's talk about planting seeds and what you mean by that.
Well, planting seeds, think about the process of any time you plant a seed. All of the things that have to happen to make that seed grow. But first of all, and most foremost, you have to plant the seed. And I share in my book, Women Who Shine, the one that I just launched in August, 6 decades of mindset of how I planted a seed every decade of my life. Because remember, I told you about the experience at 13. So I planted a seed but I asked myself one question. If every one of your listeners asks themselves this question and then takes that one question and asks it to everyone they come in contact with, you can flip negativity on its ear.
I'm ready. What's the question?
Okay, my question is to myself first, what would you love doing? Okay?
Yep.
So you're focusing on your passion. We don't focus enough on what we're passionate about doing. I challenge everybody here to write the things down that they love doing.
Okay.
And then when they're in that ruminating negative time, pick out one of those things that you love to do and go do it. You will totally interrupt and intercept the monkey mind. I call it the monkey mind.
Yeah, I like that.
Because it chatters incessantly with those thousands of thoughts, 80% of them negative.
Yeah.
So that's why I named my children's book, Never Mind the Monkey Mind, because I want to teach children to do this so that when we're adults, we can save ourselves a lot of grief.
But that monkey mind, Denise, often comes on very early in life. It's a pattern that develops within our brain, often after we've experienced something traumatic that we cannot process within ourselves, especially at a young age. And so it then gets stuck in there, and we don't often know what to do with it. But I like what you're saying, planting a seed and growing it slowly and consistency with what do you do? Every day you grow, after you plant seeds in a garden, you go out and you water it little by little each day.
And you know what? The weeds, weeding it, remember, it'll die if the weeds overtake it.
Right.
The weeding it is saying delete to all those negative thoughts.
Got it.
Every time you your seed, that you planted, you're getting rid of the negativity.
And it decreases the power of the thoughts after
Yes.
time. If you don't pay attention to it, it does decrease over time. If you pay attention to it, woo,
Yes.
it gets
And
worse
here's
and worse
one-
and worse. Yeah.
Yes, and here's one thing we don't know about our brain. I did brain research for my master's degree.
Right.
The amygdala in our brain, it takes in all the five senses, and that's our fight, our flee, or our freeze response. Okay? We have to override that
Okay.
by being aware that we're getting upset, we're triggered by something that we feel is a threat to us, and we have to override that and go into our prefrontal cortex, which is our decision making. We can make a decision in that point. Instead of listening to that, we can say delete,
Right.
clear, cancel, delete, and we can go do something that gets us off that
Yes.
that negative road.
I call it it's a loop, like a hamster going around in a wheel over and over and over again. The more you energize it, the more it comes. But are you saying that thoughts come into our head sometimes for no reason at all?
I'm just saying that thoughts are just part of what happens as a result of everything in our five senses, everything we
Okay.
see, hear, feel, that's just part of our world. But what is real is how we respond.
Okay.
And nobody tells you that.
That is right.
Because think about thoughts, okay? Thoughts are so powerful.
Yes.
I have a thought to create something. We all have, human beings over animals have the ability to create. That's what makes us different, okay? So we can create great things or we can create havoc. That is entirely,
Yes.
it's on us. It's
Yep.
100% responsibility. That's one of the success principles that I learned and I teach. We either plan or promote or create everything that happens around us. So the choice comes in how we respond to it.
Okay, great. So let's move on now to your third principle, which is overcoming adversity. Talk
Okay.
to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think by thinking about, okay, you're in an adverse situation, like when my career ended.
Okay.
I said to myself, okay, I've been totally uprooted. I've left my classroom, I've left my colleagues, I've left my children. Okay, am I going to plant a new seed and water it and nurture it and grow it, or am I going to feel like a victim for the rest of my life?
Right.
That was my overcoming adversity moment, and I said, I am going to overcome this. And I share that in my story, Women Who Shine.
Yes.
Each decade, I show how whatever adversity that I came upon, I found a way to override it by the choices I made.
So then
And
you're choosing, what you're talking about is we all have choices. And we can
do.
choose one path over the other, but it starts with us making a better choice for ourselves.
definitely.
Yeah.
And reframe your adversity as a challenge, not a threat.
I like that
A lot
too.
of times people get stuck in it because they see it as a threat to them. I go, oh, let's see how I can work my way out of this.
Right. Sometimes when things do happen, say you lost a job or, you were laid off or whatever, it's an opportunity to sit down with yourself and say, okay, this happened and this is going to give me a choice perhaps to do what I really want to do, follow my passion. It doesn't have to be negative.
No.
You can look at negative experiences as actually positive.
Yes, definitely. Because what it does is this happening to me allowed me to pursue my passions.
Right.
And my purpose, which I wanted to be a writer, and I wanted to be a trainer, and I wanted to coach people. And I don't know that I would have gone that path if this adversity hadn't happened in my life. So if
Probably
you
not.
think of it as a gift and say, I don't know what the lesson I need to learn is from this, but I'm going to go through it and find out.
Yeah.
And every single time there's one.
There's always
Every
a lesson in adversity. Always. I do find that myself. I think, like you said, some people just are not ready to take that path. They're scared. They live in fear. And fear holds us back from doing many different things, doesn't it?
Oh, I have an acronym for fear, Dr.
Okay,
Sue.
I'm ready.
Okay. FEAR. You can face everything and rise, or you can forget everything and run.
Love it.
And I always said, well, I don't like to run. I'd rather swim. So
Yes.
I'm going to face everything and run.
These little tidbits that you're giving today are so easy for people to apply, for people to understand and start using them in their own life. So thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us about that. Tell me about your new book that's coming out.
Oh, I love my new book. It's actually based on an actual student I had in my classroom. And it's about how I flipped him into a growth mindset from a fixed mindset.
Okay.
He walked in, he's a foster child, he couldn't read. And I walked over to him and asked him that question. What would you love doing, Charles? And
Yeah.
he said, Dr. Sue, I want to read a chapter book. I said, done. The next day, every frog and toad book I could find from 4 libraries was on his desk. And he
That's
learned
great.
to read that year.
That's awesome.
In 5th grade, he walks in and he said, look what I'm reading now, great big thick chapter book. And I said, he thanked me for helping him do it. I said, no, you did that. You chose to look at it differently. You chose to persevere and work hard, and you did it. And
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a fun thing. So my book has actually been endorsed by Jack Canfield.
Yes.
This is what he said on the back. Every child needs to learn how to address the negative self-talk of their monkey mind so they can be all that they can be and achieve all of their dreams. This delightful book will help you to help them do that.
It's wonderful.
So-
It's wonderful, Denise. And I'm looking
And
for.
then I have a song at the end where they can sing an affirmation to themselves when the monkey mind starts. Because they're not going to look in the mirror and say something.
No. It's wonderful because what you've done now is you've taken all the principles that we've talked about today and put it into a book for younger children to learn that early on. And they need to learn that early on so they don't run into these issues later. Tell everybody else how they can get in touch with you before we wrap up the show today.
Okay, they can get in touch with me. My website is www.denisemccormick.com, and all of my programs and everything I do is on there. And they can also email me at denise@denisemccormick.com.
Yep.
I'm on Instagram, Denise A. McCormick. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I just really want to help children, parents, and educators to really be their best selves.
Well, you're doing it. You're doing it.
Well, I have one of the gals that is on the back of my book. I had her in a neuroscience class, and she said, "Don't retire, redirect." So I called her up. She's 83 years old. She's still teaching.
That's great.
And she's one of the people that endorsed my book.
It's wonderful.
And we had the best conversation.
I love it. You know what, Denise? Keep on doing what you're doing. I want to thank you again for joining me today on the Dr. Sue and You Show. When your book comes out, I will definitely have you back on because I think the world needs to learn about that. Thanks again for being on today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sue. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for another edition of Dr. Sue and You. I mean, this great guest today, Denise McCormick, is all about what we try to teach you here on Dr. Sue and You, that you can become the solution to any conflict within your life. But it starts with you going within. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next week.